Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Get Into It with Gila. I'm Gila Glassberg, your host, registered dietitian, and certified intuitive eating counselor. And today I have with me Mimi Yaffe. Hi, Mimi.
Hi,
How are you?
Baruch Hashem. I'm so glad to be here.
I'm so happy to have you. Okay, so tell the listeners a little bit about yourself. Where do you live and what do you do?
Okay, so I live currently in Cedarhurst, New York, and we moved back from Israel this past August. I am a teacher in Beis Yaakov in Queens. I,
Hmm.
I am a fitness instructor in the neighborhood, give private classes. And that's, I guess, what we'll talk about a little bit tonight.
Yeah,
Um, I also, Baruch Hashem, I'm a mommy of four delicious little kitties. And trying to think what else. It's
that's a
pretty
lot of
much,
things. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
guess.
Okay, so I actually know you as my little sister's friend, but
Mhm.
we reconnected recently because you're giving this fitness class. So yeah, tonight I think we're gonna like pull that apart a little bit, like how you came to do fitness and everything like that. But like I guess let's go first like the teacher route. Like
Mhm.
why did you become a teacher? And like let's say like did you ever think that you were gonna be a teacher? Did you think that you were you always into fitness? Like how did that come to be?
Sure. So it's funny because, like you mentioned your little sister. And when I was back in seminary, I think the last thing in the world I thought, that's how I know Gila's sister, seminary. I think the last thing I thought I would be a teacher. And here I am now teaching in a high school and teaching fitness classes to women. So it's like,
Yeah. So
it's so,
you didn't see yourself doing that.
no, totally not. My is in biology.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
I have a master's in educational leadership.
Oh
Uh,
cool.
so I was going for physical therapy, actually.
Oh
Uh,
wow.
yeah, I was going for physical therapy. And right before I moved to Israel, I graduated with my bachelor's in biology. I applied to PT schools. There was like a brief little few months that we thought we would move to Phoenix. So I even applied to schools in Phoenix. And one after the next, I literally just kept getting rejected from school.
Hmm.
And obviously, that's not a good feeling.
Right.
And my husband like applied to this program in Israel. So almost 6 years ago, my husband applied to this program in Israel, and he's like, like we never know like what's gonna be. And in my head, I'm like, no, 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 like I'm going to physical therapy school, like it's gonna happen.
Right.
Um, and but slowly, like I kept getting no's, and we said, okay, fine, let's actually go to this program in Israel. So we committed to go, and
I guess
then
he got accepted to this
got
program in
accepted.
Israel. Yeah.
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 And then 2 weeks after we signed that we were going to this program, I got an acceptance to a
Oh,
school
wow.
out on the island. And
Wow.
in my head, like we already committed to go to Israel. And that obviously we knew like, okay, that's where we're supposed to be going.
Hmm.
Like a little hug from Hashem, like you worked really hard for this and you did get in somewhere. And
Wow.
it was like that validation that I was really seeking at that time to like, I worked so hard
Totally.
and like, no, you know what? I did get in somewhere. But Kadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, like God had a totally different plan. And like 2 weeks or 3 weeks after we landed in Israel, I got a WhatsApp that they were looking for an aim bayit in a seminary in the neighborhood. And that's really where my teaching career started. Like
Wow.
I just like jumped right off the boat in Israel and jumped right into a seminary. And I wasn't a teacher right away, but like an aim bayit, like making connections. And then next year they asked me to be some sort of like mechanechet, which is like a mentor style teacher and that's in that specific seminary. And then I was there for 5 years. And
Oh
that,
wow.
yeah,
Why? Okay. Wow. So yeah, you were obviously meant to go to Israel. It's funny how like Hashem takes you in different directions. We have that similarly, like in living in Woodmere. Like when we got married, we were going to move to Baltimore, and like that was just like set to move to Baltimore, and then I realized that like since I was already in Queens College, like it just made more sense to live in New York until I finished school. And then like we kept like, like looking into different like places to move out of town when we were like ready to buy a house and like really nothing was working out except for Woodmere. And I was like, wow, that's so funny. But like obviously we're so happy here, Baruch Hashem. But like you just like never know like where life is meant to take you.
So true.
Why did you see yourself becoming a physical therapist? Like what qualities did you feel, or like what was drawing you to that field?
Well, I love biology. I thought it always was like fascinating, like the body itself and the science behind like how our muscles work, how our even how our brain works. Just like it's literally it's really fascinating. Um, and I wanted a job that could, be practical for um like as a mother
Hmm.
and be able to still like kind of like make my own hours eventually, even though right away I don't know if that works with being a PT, but I knew that I didn't want to work in a hospital necessarily. Ideally, I think like I went through that stage in high school where I like wanted to be a surgeon
I was
for
gonna
like,
say, did you ever want to be a doctor?
yeah, I did. I went through
Yeah.
that stage, but I was like, okay, and for all those women that go ahead and do it, call it kavod. Like
Right.
the end of the day, it just wasn't the path I was meant to go down. And I have so much respect for those women that push through those years and years and years of school and still are, incredible mothers and all that. But um, for me, it was more realistic to kind of go the PT route because I thought like just movement of the body and how the muscles work. And I observed like different PTs in the neighborhood in the 5 towns, the different types, whether it was geriatrics, pediatrics, little babies, like going to with PTs on their like preemie calls, like to the house calls. And like I saw that and I was like, hey, this
Oh.
is something that I think I really want to do. And I connected with it. I even worked in PT office for a year or two. Um, but then like this, I didn't get in again, that story of like not getting in, and then Hashem put us on this route. But again, like now we're 6 years later, almost 6 years later from, that point of my life. I look back and I'm like, hey, like all that prep, all that college, all that science, it's not for loss. Cause
Hmm.
look 6 years later, how I can really take all that I learned, like with those PTs that I followed around and I interned by. I'm like, I learned a lot about muscles, learned a lot about bones, learned a lot about joints and all that.
Hmm.
I didn't learn so much. I didn't go to
Hmm.
PT school, but
Right.
at the end of the day, like now and as a fitness instructor, you know, it's
Yeah.
really to like not come full circle, but it's like
Right.
cool to see like years later.
Right. It's interesting. I don't know why this came to mind, but I don't know if you follow or listen to like Lori Gottlieb, who wrote the book. Maybe you should talk to someone who I like really like that book. But she, if I remember correctly, she used to like work in television, but she wanted to be a doctor, and she was like spending a lot of time in the emergency room, to really try to understand, like I think media, like maybe like she was like working behind the scenes for the show, um Grey's Anatomy or something like that, like a medical show. And then she didn't know what she wanted to do. Anyway, she ended up becoming a psychologist because she really wanted, she was thinking psychiatry, but then she really wanted that, like a lot of time with the patient. Anyways, it's interesting because like your feet, like what you learn in school, whether it's in college or just like in life, could still be something that you end up doing like personally or professionally. It doesn't really, like it doesn't always go the way you think it's going to go.
Yeah, that's so true. Never thought of it that way.
Yeah. I actually just found out a really I don't really talk to her anymore, but we were really good friends when we were in Queens College, and she was going for nursing, and we just like randomly reconnected, and she's like, yeah, now I actually have my own pottery company. I'm like, that is so bizarre because like you were like, she used to help me like with organic chemistry, like, you know what I
Wow.
mean? Like, and it's just like funny. Like she's like, yeah, this is just like I never really liked it, and like I'm really good at art. And I'm like, that's not normal. Like, like you just never know where life's gonna take
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you started teaching. So were you happy in Israel? Like, were you happy with the move?
So happy for the 5 years that we were there. Um, uh, our program was 5 years. So we technically knew like when the 5 years is up,
Mm-hmm.
technically we had to be going somewhere. It wasn't like
Is
a
Rabbi
program.
Kellerman?
Kellerman.
Kellerman. Okay. Yeah, I know some people that did it.
Yeah, so it wasn't like Ner Aleph or the JK, the Jerusalem Kollel, where like sometimes from there you have to go to like Alabama or into,
Mm-hmm.
like somewhere a
Right.
little more random and like
Right.
do Kirov. It was more like taking a leadership position somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
And it was for like what my husband would be doing. So he took a job here in Cedarhurst. And that's what made sense. If we would have found something in Israel that would have fit our family's, needs, and like we would have been able to really support ourselves there, would we have stayed? Very possibly. But it's really the kollel really was, it was a program. It wasn't just a kollel. Like people think like, oh, you were in kollel for 5 years. It's like, no, like they paid us a salary. Like my husband
Mm-hmm.
was getting like a kollel stipend. Like he was getting
Mm-hmm.
a salary for showing up on time. And, like it was a full day program of learning.
Mm-hmm.
Also, there was like lots of different aspects for the program. So we were really living there on that. And once that program stopped, it's like, okay, so like now what? We
Right.
have to
Figure it out.
figure it out. And it was like the jobs that we did have there in the seminary and yeshiva world were amazing experience, but like it wasn't enough for us to be able to support ourselves there. And I did have, happens to be, I had a whole photography business there as well. And if we would have stayed, I would have had to hustle and hustle
Right.
and
Right.
hustle, like so much that I think for my own mental health, or just for my own, just mommy, just to be a mommy, like I knew that like, okay, we really, it's probably best to move back.
Right. And also your family is here and
And
your
also,
husband. Right.
exactly.
Right. And it's a nice community. I'll say that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Um, Baruch Hashem, like the move was hard, and not to say that it's, never, like it was hard to move back here. We both grew up here. Um, and there are definitely going to be challenges along the way. Like we know our son who's in first grade, he's adjusting, he's still adjusting, and he continues
Right.
to us like, it's my first year in this school, like
Right.
randomly we'll say that like
Yeah.
every few weeks, and we're like, well, you're right, like it's your
Yeah.
first school. Like
Right.
he's like, I don't know X, Y, and Z, and I'm
Right.
like you're so in
Right.
with the fact that you literally just came from Israel.
Right.
So we know like it's gonna take time, and we're okay with that.
Right. For sure. Well,
Mhm.
we're happy to have you here. Okay, so you became a teacher in Israel basically, and did you realize that it was like kind of like your calling?
Slowly, like
Yeah.
over the 5 years, I was like, I actually love this, and I love my students. I love getting to know them, and that I don't know the exact like how the chazal actually goes, how the saying goes of and where exactly it is, but from who you learn the most as a teacher is like you learn the most from your students. You know what
Mm-hmm.
Chazal says?
No, I don't know the Chazal, but I do know that I know that that's like you learn the most from your students. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's so true. Like, and
Student becomes a teacher. Yeah. No,
it's
I said
like,
the student becomes the teacher, but that's not the same thing.
but like it's so true. I've learned so much about myself. I've learned so much about just people and like what hearing their stories. Like every individual has a story. Each of us, every single person in this world has a story and a journey that they go on. And I was so lucky and zocha to like hear so many of my students' journeys, like how they got to the seminary that they were in, and what they've been through in their lives at just 18 years old.
Hmm.
Like
Hmm.
mind blowing to like see that they're like, some of them are like alive and breathing and functioning, and they
Right.
want to grow. It's
Right.
amazing. They want to connect to
Right.
themselves more, to Hashem, to God more, to their teachers, and it's really inspiring. And that like from those 5 years, I was like, okay, moving back here, I'm like sent my resume to every single high school, and only one responded. Like was like, yeah, we actually have an opening for teach 11th grade Pirkei Avos. And it was so cool because I was teaching Pirkei Avos in seminary. So
Wow.
yeah, that was also some major siyata d'shmaya.
Yeah.
Um, Baruch Hashem. So yeah, slowly over those 5 years, I learned to just love this, and so happy I have a teaching job in the classroom in the high school here also.
Yeah. I was gonna say that, like, It sounds like it's not just like the teaching that like that you're drawn to, it's like the mentorship. Like that's probably like what you're able to do as a high school teacher also, that you're like guiding them.
Yeah, so that's also one of my main jobs in the school. Like I teach 11th grade Perkei Avos, but also um I am a student coach there,
That's
which
awesome.
it's a funny name. We kind of like the principal kind of like made it up.
Hmm.
We kind of made it up together. I don't know. We didn't know what to call me because I'm not a therapist. I'm not a
Right.
professional. I'm a
Right.
psychology therapist, social worker, or anything like that. They have an amazing one on staff, but it's kind of like that in between of like
Like a mentor, like a
mentor,
listening ear.
exactly, an extra
Yes.
set of listening ears. And Baruch Hashem, like again, I learned so much from my students. When they come knock on my door, it's like they're amazing, each of them, and it's inspiring every single day I go to work. Like,
That's so nice. That's really, really nice. Yeah, I think that first of all, it's high school kids really need that. High school girls really need that. And they are. I know teenagers are really, really smart and they have a lot to share.
I do.
And I do also like I think this all the time about my clients. Like I'm here to like try to teach them and guide them, but really like I'm learning from them, like we're all kind of like on this journey together. So
Exactly, it's like a journey together.
yeah.
It really
But
is.
the reason why I asked you if you found your calling is because the other night when I was at your class and I think you said something like, yeah, I'm actually a teacher. I was thinking, oh, that's why she's so good at teaching this class because she's a natural teacher. But I didn't realize that you had like, I thought you were just going to say, yeah, I always wanted to be a teacher. Like it was just like, I don't know. Like my mom was a teacher or like I went to seminary and I'm a teacher, like a lot of people's.
So my mom actually is a teacher, but I really didn't think that like teaching was my thing. And I always tell my students, I'm like, when I was sitting in your shoes, like in your desk, like I would have laughed at you and you would have said 10 to 15 years, you're going to be standing in front of the room. I would have been like, you're really cute. Like that's not happening. Like
Right.
never, ever, ever am I going to be standing in front of the room. So it's funny to sometimes be standing in front of the room and I'm like, who am I
Yeah,
sitting and
totally.
talking to them?
I know the feeling. I really
Uh,
do. Not that I'm a teacher, but like just like sometimes when I give like classes, I'm like, whose name do they just call? Like
yeah.
what's going on here? But yeah, but wait, what did you say you said you got a master's in you got your bachelor's in biology, but what did you say the emphasis was in?
Well, I was gonna go for PT,
But
but
but did you say you also had like leadership, like something in
I
leadership?
have a master's. So I
Oh,
have my
master's.
master's in biology and then I have a master's in educational leadership from Bellevue University through YIEP, like the
Mm-hmm.
Learners Program. I did that last year in Israel. I did it
Oh,
online.
cool.
It was,
Okay, got
it
it.
was honestly like it was an awesome program. Like I learned a lot about the different cultures and different organizations and like what to look for in leadership qualities. It was like really, really, really cool. I
That's
actually
really
read
interesting.
a lot of the classes in the master program and it wasn't just like annoying work to do. Like I actually learned um and I'm like applying it now, like in the school that I work in.
As a
Um
teacher and a mentor, you're saying like that's what it's helping you with. Yeah.
being part of being part of being part of something bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And also it was so cool to take the master's program and each of us there, I happen to say it was just me and one other woman. The rest of the cohort were men, but sometimes we had to write about leader, not just in it was called educational leadership, but like if you think about it, like we're all really leaders in our
Mm-hmm.
lives, whether we're
Right.
teachers or not.
Right.
Like
For sure.
everyone has times in their life where they're going to have to be a leader,
100%.
even as
Yeah.
children. You
Right.
know,
Right. As a mother, like even as a mother, just like leading your home. Yeah.
yeah, or in sometimes in the street,
Right.
like right. Sometimes you're gonna במקום שאין איש, תשתדל להיות ish. Like sometimes we're gonna have to be that one that's gonna get up and do the awkward thing and take charge of the situation even if it's uncomfortable.
For
Like
sure.
so
Totally.
that was very it was really it was a great learning experience, that master's program.
That's amazing. Okay, so let's talk about your other job, which is teaching fitness instructor. So how did that come to be?
So I really owe that all to, well, my husband is a huge fitness person.
Mm-hmm.
Since he was 18 years old. He has been exercising since he was 18. And I never understood that part of him. Like, it was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, some people need to do that, but like, that's not for me. Right. Like,
You didn't grow up like exercising. It wasn't
no,
like your hobby. No. Okay, interesting.
no, not at all. And then when we got married, I was like, okay, he's really into his exercise, and his type of exercise is all different types of exercise. That's one of the most amazing things about fitness and about exercise. There's all different types of movement, right? You can do something on the bike. You could do something cardio and just move your body fast or slow or whatever it is. And then there's also like weightlifting and getting involved with those type of things. And they're all the different types. There's so many different options. So he happens to be like in the weight area. Like, he is fascinated by lifting weights. And that's something that doesn't speak to me still. Maybe one day. But
Mm-hmm.
I never understood like what he would talk about, like what exercise does for him, like what it gives him emotionally and the drive and all that. And I never understood it, but I was supportive of it because he enjoyed it. And in Israel, I think it was like, we're coming up to probably close to 2.5 years ago, my friend convinced me to come to a Strong Nation class, which is the class that I give. I'm a Strong Nation instructor. And she's like, hey, you're going to come? I'm like, okay, sure. Like, it's not my thing exercising, but I'll try it.
So you never exercised before that?
I think like one time, like I did with another friend, we did like this 21-day challenge one time, and okay, it was good, but like fine. And then another time with a different friend in Israel, we did like this BBG program, and we're like, okay, it was good, but it also fell apart. Like, it was like programs that like I joined, and like it was all in the last 4 or 5 years. And it was never something consistent. It always like
Mm-hmm.
fizzled out. Like, I
Mm-hmm.
didn't end up loving it. So it didn't end up being consistent. It didn't speak to me at the end of the day. It wasn't like, I know you always speak about joyful movement. Find
Right.
something that speaks to you and that you enjoy doing. And like, it's not a punishment. Exercising and it's a punishment. You're not punishing yourself by
Right.
moving. Find something that
Right.
you make you happy and that you enjoy. So those two things I didn't enjoy. Didn't look forward to it. And then my friend took me to this class at the workout zone in Maladafna by Liba Chaimowitz's gym. And I fell in love with it. Like, it took a few classes to come to, meaning like at first I was like, well, this is really intimidating. Like,
Mm-hmm.
people in the room, and some of them are really good at what they're doing, and I'm not. And
Mm-hmm.
my friend was like, no, just keep coming back. I'm telling you, just keep coming back. You're going to learn some of the movements. It's complicated at first, but I'm telling you, just keep coming back. And the music was awesome from the get-go. Like, I
Right.
love the music, but I was really intimidated by some of the level of other people in the class. And the trainer was so personable, and she like knew my name right away. And she like would come up to me in the middle of the class and be like, how are you doing? And after the class as well. And I just like fell in love with her vibe. Her name's Yal Katz. And I just started going consistently. And it was over the course of like a year. And then I thought, like, why not just become an instructor?
Mm-hmm.
And I did it.
That's so funny.
Because I
Why
love.
did you think, what led you to think, why don't I become an instructor? Was it like a financial thing, or was it just like, what was like at the core of that reason?
It's a good question.
Because I love to spin. I have two spin bikes in my office. I already showed
Yeah,
you my
yeah.
disco ball, and like I've thought about it so many times, especially like as a dietitian. Like I could get like continuing education credits to, do that, but I'm like, whatever. Also, like I'm like I tend to do that, like try to do 100 things. So I'm like, okay, stick to nutrition.
Right, right, right. So what like led me
Like
to
there's a leap from going to like I'm taking this class to like now I'm teaching this class.
right. So what led me to do it? Well, I had a friend that was doing the class with me also, and a different friend who wasn't the one who took me there, and she was training to become a certified personal trainer. And we would like randomly talk about strong because we both loved it. And I think we both found out that like it's not so hard to become an instructor.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think we both were like, let's just do it. Like, why not? And I think it could have been, I don't know, I don't remember 100%, but also one of the trainers who teaches it was going on maternity leave. And I think even um one of the trainers from the gym like asked me like, would you feel comfortable, you ready, oh know all the moves? I'm like, I'm not an instructor though, like I don't know, I'm not like certified and whatnot, so I don't know if I feel comfortable teaching any classes. And so I think it was something along those lines also that pushed me. Can't remember the exact, like I don't want to like, the timing might be off of like when she told me they were going on maternity leave,
That's okay. Don't worry. I'm not gonna like check that for the accuracy of the date.
at the end of the day, it was like, why not? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why not? And it really wasn't that hard. Like, there were women on the training session. It was on Zoom. Also, it was on
Mm-hmm.
Zoom.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was 9 hours on Zoom. And most of the time on the Zoom was exercising. We
Wow.
literally did, you know, the class,
Yeah.
like, we literally were exercising for like 6 of those hours.
Wow.
It
Oh my
was,
gosh.
and we knew all the songs because we were consistent goers, but there were
Mm-hmm.
women on the Zoom that like when the trainer said like when the master trainer, the person giving the course was like, so how many of you go to strong classes? And like we raise our hands like us, right? And then like maybe 2 or 3 women in the course were like, never went to one. I'm like, so how on earth are you doing this right now? Like it's um but they did it and we all did it and we all passed. And you know, it wasn't like a crazy hard test to pass, but like the instructor was like making sure that we had good form and making sure we were doing everything right. It was a hard 9 hours, but we did it. It took from like nine, I don't even remember the hours, but we were so proud of ourselves that we did it. And then after that, like I took over some of her maternity classes in a gym in Romema and a gym in Maladafna. And I even gave my own class there for a little bit at night. Wasn't her class. Like she made another one, Liba made another class for women that wanted to come at a certain time. Yeah, it was, I owe a lot to that gym in Ramada School, the workout zone. Like I felt
Wow.
like it helped me reach my reach my goals, and I really felt like they believed in me. They were like,
Mm.
of course you can do this, like look at you, you've been so consistent, you've been working so hard, like why wouldn't you go ahead and do something like this? And I felt that confidence from them, and that definitely fed into me of like, well, I can do this. Like, you
Right.
know, it's like that with everything in life. It's not just a fitness thing of like consistent hard work. It
Mm-hmm.
like leads to us attaining our goals.
Right.
And that was
There's
something.
something about fitness though, like I don't know why, like for me and probably for you also because you're like into it. It's like let's say like I have a goal outside of fitness, right? Like something to do with my business or like my parenting or my marriage or something. And there's something about like fitness that like when I think about it and I like feel strong in my body, I feel like I'm almost like it's like I'm working through the goal through my fitness. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So so like yeah, it's a fitness goal, but it's also like there's something of it that's very centering about fitness. But not for everybody. I know not everybody has that. Like I know some clients tell me like, no, I just don't have that. And I get that. And I think also a lot of people are like abused with exercise, but like forced to exercise, or force themselves to exercise or like just did it and like didn't eat enough and like just felt really weak and felt sick and did it anyways. And of course they hate it.
Yeah, for sure.
But what do you think about the class? Like what did you fall in love with in terms of the class? Like what's different about strong as opposed to other ways of exercising?
So Strong Nation, the class is actually the first ever HIT style. HIT is high intensity interval training that's tempo based. So we're training to the tempo, we're training to the beat. So whether we're jumping jacks or planking and like putting our legs out and tapping out, or in a bear crawl, or lunging, squatting, like all those, there are 9 base moves that we focus on in every single class. And everything is to the beat. Now, in the beginning, it's hard to get it to the beat But
Right.
if someone continues to come and is more consistent, they get more like they fit their moves more to the beat, and
Right.
then it actually becomes like really, really fun. You
Right.
know,
I think it's very fun. Yeah, totally.
like in the beginning, it's confusing. It's like, wait,
Right.
like just got the move and she's already on
Right.
the next thing, right? And then, but the beauty of also this class is the music is so awesome
Right.
and it's clean.
Right. I was gonna say I really like that it's clean music. That's very, very hard to find. That's actually good music. Clean music. That's actually good.
Yeah, and they design the music specifically for the workout. So it's not like they're pulling stuff off of Spotify and like getting it from different DJs or whatever it is. They are the DJs, whoever the Strong Nation DJs are or whatever, they're customizing the music specifically for the workout, meaning like the DJ's sitting with the workout in front of him and like, okay, she just lunged. So like what's a cool beat I can put to that lunge?
Mm-hmm.
Like reverse engineered. Like
Mm-hmm.
like the trainers are like listening to a song and like, okay, now lunge during that beat.
Right. Right.
The whole cycle is reverse engineered, which makes the music makes us like work harder, like our like move more. And it's
Right.
really cool to be, and when everyone's in sync
Yeah.
and like in the mirror and you're all watching, like you're all together and like we're all sync, like jacking in the air and
Right.
like, you know,
It's an
it's
energy. Yeah, it's an
an
energy.
energy that comes along with that. And the vibe could be like really powerful and awesome and strong. And like,
Right.
and it's a unit that we create. It's a community.
Mm-hmm.
So that was something that definitely also learned from my trainer, like from Yael in the workout zone, like when she was there. Um, it was like a whole thing. We were all working together. And it was
Yeah.
something that's so special about group fitness in general. That like one of the things I say in my class, like in the beginning, sometimes, like if there's someone new that comes to the class, say like sometimes we feel like everyone's watching us, right? Like everyone's gonna watch me mess up this move, right? But in reality, is like not the majority of time, like no one's really watching you, right?
Right.
No
Right.
one's
Totally.
really watching you to mess up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But it's that like pressure that we feel that like the move needs to be perfect or like, and I know like sometimes I'll even mess up a move and I'm like, I'm sorry. And I remember even one time you were like, we didn't even notice
Right.
like
Right.
was
It's
wrong,
true.
right? And
We
I'm
wouldn't notice because we don't even know, like we don't know the moves like the moves. So it's like funny
like,
how we get like so in our head about stuff.
exactly.
I know just it's important for people to listen to this who are like so afraid to go to a gym. I talk about this with clients all the time, like looking in the mirror, not looking in the mirror, looking at other people, comparing themselves. Like I've said this to clients before that like there's the gym that I go to, like you could either stand like in front of the mirror or there's even like a spot that you could stand that you can't see yourself in the mirror. So I tell them like depending on my mood, like sometimes I want to see myself and sometimes I don't, but it's okay. Like
right,
you just have to like zone into to like your whatever works for you, whatever
yeah.
makes you feel like strong in your body or in touch with your body or grounded in your body or fun or whatever, like the energy that you're trying to get. But yeah, like in a group, like I just went to a kickboxing class on Sunday and it was, and they had like this charity day. And so there
Mm-hmm.
was much more people in the class and there was like, there's just like, it's just like, I told you this after some of the classes, I feel like I could like take over the world.
Yeah,
Like on a Saturday night after Shabbos, and it's like you just want to like faint on the couch and you like get out of the house and go to class, and you're just like, now I could just like take over the whole world, like that energy in your body.
it's true. Like people think like, oh, if I move my body more, I'm gonna be tired more.
Right.
It's like it's not, it doesn't always work that way,
Yeah,
like
totally.
and leave a class feeling so energized and so much more like I can go finish cleaning my house right now. Like
Yeah.
I feel ready, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah, totally. I'm just thinking this, like I do like I think that my fitness journey has also gotten much more enjoyable because like let's say like your class is sometimes really, really hard. And like if I can't do it, I just don't do it. I just take a break. Like I take a drink or I take a minute and it's like I think that that's also helps people make their fitness more enjoyable. Like it's okay if you can't keep up with the class or you have to go slower, even like take a 5 minute break, People don't want to do that. They don't want to like seem weird, but it's like you just got to do what works for you, you know?
Yeah. And I really try to say that in the class of like like keep moving, whatever you're doing. Like, don't just like stop your movement because your heart rate probably is really high and it's just not safe to just like stop the movement. So like just take it down a notch, walk around, breathe through it, like
Mm-hmm.
you have to like be in tune with our bodies. That's so important. Like if your body feels like you can't continue, then don't continue. Like
Mm-hmm.
take it down, walk around, take a breather, take a sip of water, walk, and
Mm-hmm.
there's no shame in that. Like
Right.
to listen to your body, that's for sure.
Yeah. So where do you see yourself? Like where do you see Strong Nation or like your fitness classes going? Like now that you're here in America settled, like what's your plan? Or do you not have a plan?
Somewhat of a plan, I
Yeah.
guess. Um, so like I said, I back in the beginning probably of the podcast of this interview, um, when I was living in Israel, I built a photography business there.
Right. So I was gonna ask you about that. Like I guess you have like some entrepreneurial blood in you.
I guess so. Um, but I'm not really going to talk about that. But just the business aspect of it is that it took a lot of time.
Yes.
And when that was happening, it was probably the only last year that we were in Israel that I was getting real consistent calls on a base, like on a consistent basis
It's so
for,
hard to leave that.
and like I still have a beautiful website, but like, and I wasn't on social media because most of my clients wouldn't even allow me to do that, meaning
Wow. Right.
pictures. I
Right.
wouldn't, do that type of like, if you're in my photo shoots, like you have to let me post on photo. I didn't want to do
Right.
that.
Right.
Um, like I realized like, whoa, like I built a whole entire business here. And it took 5 years to
Mm-hmm.
for everything to really become solid and consistent. And so I have that mind, like I have that to look at and say, like, if I want to do something like that here with, let's say, with these fitness classes, I have to know that like these things really do take time and
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to have to promote it, in the right ways and in the right places and with the right people. And offer promotions when I can and offer free classes, and get people
Yeah.
to into the door and like just to try it and be consistent and
Mm-hmm.
thank God, like I think I've been doing this, I think 3 months at this point. I don't even know. I probably should like look back at my texts. I don't know, like when they sent out that first text or whatever of like to start the classes. Um and slowly, like I Baruch Hashem, like I've been getting some good feedback. I can't say I have
Mm-hmm.
50 people giving me amazing feedback, but you know,
Everybody who takes the class, at least what I hear, is like loving the class and is excited about the class, especially like people who are into fitness. Like it's one of those, you know.
yeah, and even people who aren't necessarily like there are women who consistently come Motzei Shabbos.
Right.
Like, this is my fun time. This is my
Yeah.
me. This is my self
Yeah.
care. Like that's amazing. Like go
Yeah.
you.
Yes.
So as long as I know that if I'm consistent and I'll continue to promote my classes with the help of Strong Nation, meaning like Strong Nation themselves is incredible with their helping their instructors
Mm-hmm.
themselves, and they're constantly like I'm in the middle like on my computer like behind our Zoom is a video of like just how to cue better in classes. They sent it out for everyone to watch for free of like
So nice.
their annual summit where all the strong nations come together, all the instructors come together in Florida. I can't go to because it's over
Mm-hmm.
shots and
Mm-hmm.
but like they just sent it out for free to all the people at home who want to see it. Like I'm so excited to watch it. Like how
Right.
can I make my class better, right? Like how
Right.
can I cue better? How can I motivate my students in the class better? So as long as I'm consistent with improving my classes and teaching you guys and the women in the class like new moves and new songs and everything, then like I think there's a level of confidence there that like things take time, but like
Mm-hmm.
it will take a lot of hard work on my part. Um, but I hope, and I hope people can also see the beauty and like in what this class has to offer to them, and like
Mm-hmm.
what it can really give them. Um, but it's slow and that's okay, slow and steady.
Slow and steady for sure.
Yeah. And
I have
that's,
to remind myself that with like business stuff, like slow and steady. It takes time to build a business.
yeah, it really, really does. And I'm a Shark Tank fan.
Totally. Or
So like hearing sometimes their, entrepreneurial, I don't even know how to say
you
that
got
word.
it. You got it. Entrepreneurial advice.
Advice. It's they're all like these things take years. And
Hmm.
it's not even like I'm trying to build a massive business, right? Like I'm just trying to get people to come to a class, right? Like, but even the small things like that take times, and it's
Hmm.
coming from just like a passionate point, because
Right.
like I see like what it has done for me and like my own emotional and mental health, like just getting out of the house and moving fast or slow or whatever it is, and giving me my space, like,
Hmm.
like going out there and you know getting my heart rate up and moving, like I don't know where I'd be without it now, like,
Totally.
you know
Yeah. Fitness is my life, you know? I'm
actually
referencing the
long
song.
song.
No, I know I'm referencing the song. Wait, so do you see yourself starting your own like studio or something? I know you work in your, is it okay to say that you work in your
Yeah,
mother-in-law's?
yeah,
Yeah, your
I
mother-in-law has like an awesome yoga studio, which is like that was pretty clutch that you had that at your fingertips.
yes, like she is so amazing. Everyone who's listening, Deborah's yoga, she's an out of this world yoga instructor, um
I'm
which
happy to put if she has like a website or something in the show notes.
she doesn't have a website, but
Her
definitely
number.
contact information for sure.
Yes, for sure.
Much more opposite of what my class is like. Very slow paced.
Hmm.
It's like breath work and in tune with yourself, and like your stretching body, slower paced body movement, which honestly is so important to do.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, it's a lot of core work in that in her classes. She is so underratedly strong. In her in her with her yoga classes. Um, so so I'm so lucky to have a spot to do the classes. Um, I can fit a max of I think 8 or 9 women in a class, but that's the max because
Hmm.
otherwise, like
Right, for sure.
so can I make my own? There's nothing on the horizon like that, like to go find a space right now. If I see that over the next year, 2 years, that my classes are booked and like I guess maybe I'll look into getting a bigger space.
Right, you'll see where it takes you.
More classes. Exactly. Like get
Yeah.
more classes and have like I know that there are gyms that do that. They have like a 7:15 slot and an 8:15 slot for the
Yeah.
instructor.
Yeah.
Um, and if I'd have to do that, I'd be happy to do that. But that's not anywhere like
Right.
close like right now. But um, taking every week as it comes.
Yeah, totally. So
Yeah.
let's just wrap up. But like what is it that you want to leave the listeners with in terms of like whatever you what your goals are with fitness or what your goals are with your class or just in general?
Sure. So I think like just to end off with something that you always share, and it's made a big impact on me, like just like from you bringing your energy to the class and like just sharing what it means like to move joyfully and to have the movement that makes you happy. And I just like saw a meme um the other day about exercise and fitness. Like exercise doesn't have to be a punishment. It's like, oh, I have to do exercise now.
Mm-hmm.
Like this is like, no, it's like, no, I get to do it. Like it's a
Mm-hmm.
privilege, it's an opportunity, it's a bracha, it's a blessing that I can move my body. Like it's actually a blessing. Um, and if we have that like mindset shift of like, hey, like this is a gift that I could give myself, you know, mentally,
Totally.
emotionally, physically, and just feel good after, Um, could be Strong Nation is a class that someone might enjoy and it might speak to them, but it's something that you need to try, and like actually all you need to do is try, right?
For
Like just
sure.
come and join us, see if you like it. No offense, like no offense taken if someone doesn't enjoy the class. That's okay too. It's not might not
Mm-hmm.
be everyone. Someone might want more of like a dance and salsa type of class.
Yeah.
and someone might want just a weightlifting class, and that's fine too.
Right.
But and so everyone has to find like movement that, fits their needs and what will make them happy and, feel good after. And um for me, that's strong nation. And like I've seen other women like really, really, really over my time in Israel teaching it, and also maybe a little bit here. Some of the feedback that I've gotten, they're like, well, like I haven't found a workout like this, and I'm so happy like that I found it.
Yeah,
Like
it's definitely a different style and it's really, really fun and intense and modifiable. So,
yes, yes. Oh my
yeah.
gosh. Also,
Yeah,
all levels can do this class.
totally.
Like I've had women over 60 doing the class, and there are teenagers that have come to the class. So
Totally.
it's really modifiable or intense or
Mm-hmm. Or
intense
really intense. Yeah. Like
or
high. Yeah.
and it honestly, like I said this in one of, I hope my computer doesn't die. Like I literally said this in one of the class, like I think it was Moshe Shabbos' class. And when we were doing like one of these moves, like I jumped forward or something, like jumping into a jump squat, like forward
Mm-hmm.
into a squat. And I was like, this move is entirely what you make of it, right? Like that's what fitness is. It's what
Yeah,
you choose to
totally.
make of it. Like you wanna feel intense after this class, you wanna feel like you just gave it your all, you have to put in that effort, and like it's what you make of it.
For
So,
sure. For
yeah.
sure. Okay, thanks so much for coming on. This is great.
Sure, sure. Thanks for having me.
Sure. Have a good night.